So, in continuation of the last part where I sort of told Willy Richardson's history and what he's done and sort of his legacy, I wanted to talk about how I discovered his work, how I found him, and sort of our relationship now. So, when I first saw his work, me and some of my family members went to a semi-local mom and pop party shop, and it was October of 2018. And I went in. It being October, they had a Halloween section. They had costumes and masks and props and makeup and all that stuff. And on the mask wall was some of Willy Richardson's late Chinese product, this stuff that was produced in 2012 or through 2012. And I still have a picture that I took that day of his masks on the shelf, and I'll post that here. The Chinese masks are all branded Look at Me Studios, but I tried them on. And they fit my face really well, but I was young and I was 17. I didn't have, any money. I didn't work, so I didn't buy them. But I could never really forget about them. I liked them a lot and they fit me very well. And a lot of half masks are really goofy and kind of ridiculous, and I don't tend to like how they look. So his work, they kind of had character, without being stupid, you know what I mean? So I spent a lot of time looking for them. I looked on eBay for a long time, and kind of surfed around online, but never really found much until last year, in like August, September of 2021. I started looking pretty hard. I went through a lot of broken costume shop links and like abandoned costume shop websites, old Amazon listings, like Spanish Amazon listings, eBay listings. I found one eBay listing for an A9, and I'll explain the catalog and stuff like that later. And the listing for the one on eBay was tagged. It still had the Look at Me Studios tag, so I figured out who the distributor was. I emailed the distributor to try and find anything out, and he really didn't have any information for me. I even went as far as looking through customs and import record websites to try and see, how many of them were imported, where they went, who brought them in, all that fun stuff. And really didn't come up with much until I got on Facebook and looked up Look at Me Studios. I scrolled through the list of pages for a while and found a page with the Look at Me Studios logo as their profile picture, called Look at Me Studios. And this was 2021, and they'd been inactive since 2014 or 2015. And I messaged them and never got a response, but Willy Richardson had posted to their wall, or posted at them, and asked them to stop using his product because he issued cease and desists in 2013, I believe, when he shut everything down. I sent him a message, of course he had to be the guy, right? And a couple days later I got a response. And he, after going back and forth, he agreed to sell me 3 masks, which would be an E1, I think an L1 and an L2 is what I got. He shipped them to me along with some catalogs, which I'll show in the next video. And that was all I had for a really long time, was the 3 masks and the catalogs. Because this stuff is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he said he produced 30,000 by hand between 85 and 2011, or whenever he stopped. And the Chinese manufacturer produced something like 44,000. So 74,000 masks total across the board. And they're just impossibly rare to find. You don't find them on Marketplace. You don't find them on eBay. You just don't find them. About 4 weeks ago, maybe a little more, I found a listing for a D8 on eBay. And I shot a picture of it to Willy, make sure it was his. It was. And he sent me back a listing for 2 E1 11s. So buck teeth E1s. Like I said, I'll show you the catalogs in the next video that have the number, or the letter and number of codes on it. But I bought all 3, both E1 11s and and the D8. The D8 was a Chinese one, but so the Chinese ones were all branded Look at Me Studios, and that was the manufacturer. And the ones that we got, the E1 11s, were not Look at Me Studios. They were branded Star Power. and there's actually still a Walmart listing for these masks, and of course they're out of stock, there's none there to buy, but they were trademarked in '05 and they were sold through Walmart, and we think these are his originals. There was a period of time where he started stamping them with made in China stamps to prepare for the Chinese manufacturing, so they say made in China, but we think he poured and painted these himself. They were rotten around the eyelets because of the materials he used, and it was a process that he stopped doing once he noticed that it was bad for them, so I had to do some repair to them, but they'll be shown in the next collection video. So I had 6. I had the E1, the L2, and the L1, and then I had the D8 and the 2 E111s. So I had 6. And it was pretty well dried up. There was no more on eBay, and we couldn't find any more anywhere else. So I doubled my collection. And then about a week ago, throughout last week and the week before, the store that I initially saw them at in 2018 was in Tupelo, Mississippi. And that store closed last year, but they still have a location in South Haven, Mississippi, and Memphis, Tennessee. So I called the South Haven location a couple weeks ago and basically said, hey, I saw this product in your Tupelo location a few years back, and I just wanted to see if there was any left, if it got liquidated when that store was closed down, where did it end up, who is it sold to, you know, is there any way we can track this stuff down? And they didn't really understand the question, but they referred me to the Memphis store and asked me to talk to the owners. So I got in touch with the owners, and they got back in touch with South Haven, and it turned out that they had quite a bit of product left. So like 10-year-old stock that's been sitting on their shelves this whole time, and it had been bagged and stapled and re-tagged and all this stuff, but it was there. So they told me that South Haven had 4 styles and Memphis only had a couple. So and they said that they would have the same types, so I just went to South Haven because it was closer and picked up one of everything. And I'll post a picture of the day that I got them here. So I ended up with 8 new masks. So I more than doubled my collection again. One of them being the H1, and Willy didn't even have an H1. I think he said that was his second mask he ever sculpted, or something like that. But it was important to him, and he didn't have one anymore. So we worked out a trade. He mailed me a D6, and I mailed him the H1. So he has that now, and I'll post a picture of the H1 here and the D6 here. So I had 12. And then Willy wanted me to go back and basically clean them out on his behalf. So Memphis transferred all their stock to South Haven. I went back and bought all the stock they had for him. And he let me keep an E2 that was rotting. And I'll post a picture of that here. And the E2 was the mask that I tried on in the first place back in 2018. So that was the first one I ever put on. And I'll have to do some repairs to it too. So that's, I think I have 14 now. I think he ended up getting 20 out of that deal. The 20 that were left all went to him. And I'll post a picture of those laid out here. And that's where we're at now. So we've managed to track down a bunch of new old stock. My collection's been doubled twice this year. I've got catalogs, and he mailed me some old cards that he used to use, and I've got some other cool stuff on the way that pertains to, you know, his mask business and stuff like that. But that's where we're at. We have come a long way this year, and me and him are great friends. We talk almost every day, and he's a very he's a character, and he's an interesting person to be in touch with, and it's a relationship that I'm proud of. And it's a collection that I'm proud of. So the collection video is coming next, and I can't wait to show y'all everything that we've got. So thank you.